Hi, I'm Charles Edel, the Australia Chair here at CSIS, and thanks again for joining us for another episode of Pacific Policy Pulse. I'm absolutely thrilled to have Richard Marles, Australia's Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister, here with us today. Richard, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Charles. Thank you for having me in your wonderful office, which is like Australia House here. There's all this Australiana on your walls.
We try very much because we can't hang everything up at home.
Fair.
So, first question, you're back here. You were here at the NATO summit just a month ago. What brings you back this time to Washington?
Well, fundamentally AUSMIN. So yesterday, myself, Penny Wong, the Foreign Minister, were with Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin. We held AUSMIN at the Naval Academy at Annapolis, which was a real treat. But it was a 34th AUSMIN. It's the third that the four of us have done together, which would be quite unusual that you've had the same foursome across three different AUSMINs. And it was very productive. I mean, it spoke to the depth of our alliance, and it was a really great day.
When you think about what you've done since you've come in to the position, I'm really interested as the lead on defense issues. When you think about the U.S. alliance, but really as you think about defense equities more broadly, what keeps you awake at night? What do you find most of your time really honed in on?
Well, I think we live in a very unsettled world. I mean, you can see that everywhere. We live in a world where the rules-based order is under intense pressure, as great a pressure as there has been since the end of the Second World War. So if the question is what gives me a sense of anxiety, it's that. The focus then is really doing the foundational thinking to understand what is the exact strategic problem that Australia needs to face in the midst of that, and what defence force do we need to face it. And that's a set of thinking that hasn't been done for a long time, and that's because really we are faced with a very different world today. But it's really trying to get those answers right, having a very clear pathway forward, getting the funding for it, which we've now done, but getting the plan. And I feel like we do have a plan in place now, but that's taken a lot of work.
So you were just here less than a month ago for the NATO meetings. Now you're back again on all these trips back and forth across the Pacific. You have a lot of time. We're always interested what people are reading. Hopefully it's something beyond the briefing books. What are you reading in your spare time right now?
Well, I like histories, and I particularly like biographies. I can see that you've got a William Lee Miller book of Lincoln. I've read another of Miller's books on Lincoln. But right now I'm reading a biography of James Monroe, the fifth President of the United States. Monroe, of course, is the Monroe Doctrine, and really this is the first time that America is looking beyond its shores and seeing itself as having a role in the wider world, which has really come to define American exceptionalism. And in some ways you can trace that back to the Monroe presidency. So it's absolutely fascinating Monroe was an officer when Washington crossed the Delaware. And in the Battle of Trenton, Monroe was actually injured and was a war hero from the Revolutionary War. So he's a fascinating life.
Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and talk with us today. And thanks to all of you for joining us for another episode of Pacific Policy Pulse.